Previously on Metallica, Rise of the Immortals. With Kill 'Em All, Metallica began forging their name through raw speed and instinct. The album was abrasive and unpolished, driven by urgency, not precision, capturing a band fighting to be heard. With Ride the Lightning, they evolved. The aggression remained, but it was now shaped by melody, structure, and atmosphere. Metallica were no longer just fast. They were thinking, expanding, and taking risks. By the time they entered the studio in 1985, everything was about to change. It would permanently redefine Metallica as a band, leading them to their greatest triumph, and at the same time, their darkest hour. In September 1985, Metallica made a deliberate choice. They left the United States and returned to Sweet Silence Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark offered distance. More importantly, it offered Flemming Rasmussen. Rasmussen had already worked with the band on Ride the Lightning. He understood their sound, but he also challenged it. His approach was careful, technical, and structured, a contrast to Metallica's instinctive writing style. That contrast was exactly what the band wanted. In Copenhagen, ideas were slowed down, examined, and refined. Songs were not simply recorded, they were shaped. It was an environment that would define the album, and in time, it would help define Metallica themselves. During the Master of Puppets era, James Hetfield was changing as both a musician and a person. Still uncertain about his voice, he worked relentlessly on control and clarity, moving away from uncontrolled shouting toward a more direct, commanding delivery. His approach to rhythm guitar followed the same path, tighter, more deliberate, and physically demanding. By the end of the album, Hetfield had defined his role. Master of Puppets captures the moment when he stopped searching for his sound and began fully owning it. On the other side, Lars Ulrich approached the album from a structural perspective. Lars played a central role in shaping the album's structure. He was constantly rearranging sections, cutting riffs, extending bridges, and refining song dynamics.
We try and put as much into the music as we can in terms of the song arrangings and song writings and tempo changes and stuff like that.
Many of Master of Puppets' long, complex arrangements were tightened through his insistence on pacing and contrast. Ulrich also acted as the band's internal editor, questioning parts that felt excessive, pushing for stronger transitions and making sure every change served the song. His drumming emphasized sharp accents, abrupt stops, and militaristic rhythms, reinforcing the album's controlled marching feel. More than just a drummer, Lars functioned as a producer within the band, translating raw ideas into focused, fully realized compositions. His influence helped turn long, aggressive songs into carefully structured statements rather than uncontrolled jams.
Sort of all that thrown in together, there's Metallica. Oh well. Thank you.
By the time of Master of Puppets, Kirk Hammett had already developed his own approach to the guitar. After leaving Exodus, he worked on technique and structure under Joe Satriani, focusing on melody and control rather than sheer speed. During the recording of the album, Kirk had a clearly defined role within Metallica. He was not the main songwriter or a leader, but he was a stable and disciplined presence in the band. Unlike Hetfield and Ulrich, he rarely engaged in conflict, working quietly, methodically, and without the need to prove himself. He came into the studio prepared, with well-developed ideas but no attachment of ego. His solos were carefully composed and always served the song rather than the guitarist. One of the most important figures within Metallica was Cliff Burton, the band's bassist and a central creative force. He brought musical depth and a different way of thinking into the group.
You know, I'm into a lot of different stuff, classical music, punk.
Classically trained, he approached music without hierarchy, listening to Bach and heavy metal with equal respect. His influence on Master of Puppets is evident in its slower tempos, heavier atmospheres, and more complex arrangements. Cliff consistently pushed the band beyond standard thrash formulas, encouraging dynamic shifts and broader harmonic ideas. Within Metallica, Cliff Burton was not only a musician, but a stabilizing force, someone who helped define what the band stood for as it moved toward its most focused and uncompromising work. The recording process itself had been exhaustive. Songs were reworked repeatedly, tempos adjusted in small increments, and performances pushed until they met the band's standards. Sessions demanded focus, discipline, and endurance, leaving little room for rest or detachment. Recording at Sweet Silence Studios wrapped up at the end of 1985. At the time, Ozzy was preparing the Ultimate Sin Tour and was looking for an opening act that was heavy, disciplined, and capable of holding large stages. Within weeks of finishing the album, the band joined the tour. What had been built in the studio
Metallica's Master
was tested in real time.
And James Hetfield told MTV, not only did the audiences take, they also get.
Night after night. In front of audiences far larger than they had played before. The transition was immediate, from isolation and control in Copenhagen to the demands of the road. At first, Metallica were outsiders, a thrash metal band opening for a heavy metal legend. The contrast was obvious. However, night after night, Metallica stunned audiences. Their performances were relentless, precise, and disciplined. Ozzy himself took notice. Over time, mutual respect grew. James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich bonded with Ozzy over shared musical roots, especially their deep admiration for Black Sabbath.
What's it like being on tour with Ozzy?
Real good.
It's a lot of fun.
Things are going real well. 55 minutes, you know, all our stage set up.
Get treated well.
Yeah.
Really, really great to tour with because like they're giving us 55 minutes and we have like, they're giving us like the opportunity to use our own like specially made stage set. And it's like, I think they've realized, the whole organization, that if we go out and give the audience a good kick, you know, then get them like really fired up and get them energetic, you know, that when Ozzy comes out, he's, you know, the audience are going to be even more receptive to what he's doing, you know. So it sort of works both ways. And I think Ozzy's reached the point now where he's, you know, so big and so also confident in what he's doing that there's no need to give, you know, support acts like us a hard time, you know, because like I said, the harder we go out and get the audience sort of energized and sort of ready for sort of the big man himself, you know, the better he's going to go down.
Off stage, the tour followed a different rhythm. Life on the road in the 1980s was built on excess, and Metallica quickly immersed themselves in it. Heavy drinking became part of their nightly routine, blurring the line between celebration and self-destruction. Among crew members and fans, a new nickname began to circulate.
The lightning is the best.
Their music isn't like garbage, you know? They know how to get the crowd going. It's music.
Just like us, they party, everything. They turn it up. They crank up the volume.
See, there's only one thrash band around that I know of, and that's Metallica, which they're playing tonight at 7:30, and I suggest that everybody gets down here right now and see the best in the United States of America.
The tour lasted several months and spanned North America, pushing Metallica into larger venues and broader audiences than ever before. They were no longer just surviving as an opening act. They were becoming unstoppable. By the fall of 1986, the band was deep into the European leg of the tour. The pace was relentless. Life was reduced to buses, hotels, sound checks, and adrenaline. Fatigue became routine. Cliff Burton remained the band's center. Not just the bassist, but the intellectual anchor, the mediator, the musician equally devoted to Bach and Motorhead. On the night of September 27th in Sweden, the argument was insignificant. Sleeping bunks. On a tour bus, there was no hierarchy when it came to sleep. No assigned beds. No rules. You slept wherever there was space, or wherever you felt most comfortable. Arguments over bunks happened all the time. They were routine, never serious. That night, Cliff and Kirk settled it the usual way. They played cards. Cliff won. He smiled, gathered his things, and took Kirk's bunk. It felt ordinary. Just another night on tour. Hours later, somewhere near Durarp, the bus drifted along a dark road. At first, it was just a strange sway. Then the sudden, violent sound of metal screaming against asphalt. The bus left the road. The cause was never fully agreed upon. Shouting began as they realized Cliff was missing. James Hetfield ran along the road calling his name. Cliff Burton had been thrown from the bus. The bus came down on top of him. Cliff Burton was only 24 years old. The tour stopped. The noise stopped. For days, Metallica barely spoke. Cliff wasn't just a bandmate. He was the one who pushed them forward. Musically, intellectually, personally. He was a brother. Without him, the future felt unclear. For the first time, quitting didn't feel impossible. But slowly, another thought surfaced. Cliff would have hated that. After days of silence and grief, they made a decision. They would continue, for Cliff. But moving on didn't mean forgetting. It meant carrying the weight. Walking back onto the stage, knowing one of them would never walk there again. Keeping the music alive, even when part of it had died. They needed someone new. Not to replace Cliff, but to keep the fire burning.
This past September, when their bassist Cliff Burton was killed in a bus accident, they got themselves back on the road in just 6 weeks. Drummer Lars Ulrich told us why.
The period of time has been so short because like the main things that we decided when we met up again, you know, about a week after the accident was that we wanted to do it as fast as possible, which would sort of shortened the time of us sitting around, you know, feeling sorry for ourselves and moaning and groaning and so forth.
Metallica and their new bassist Jason Newsted are currently on tour in Canada. They'll be back in the States on December 20th when they perform in Seattle.
The Damage Inc. tour began almost immediately.
Burton, who was killed in a bus accident while the band was on tour in Sweden over a month ago. Well, Metallica will begin making up the world tour dates postponed after Burton's death. They play 5 dates in Japan starting Saturday, and they will begin U.S. dates around Thanksgiving.
Jason was thrown into the fire. Night after night, he played Cliff's songs, before grieving audiences, before fans searching for something that could never return. And he knew it. Jason didn't come as a savior. He came as a worker. He played loud, sometimes deliberately so, not from ego, but from the need to be heard. The band was cold, closed off, not from cruelty, but from pain. James and Lars focused on one thing: surviving the tour, keeping Metallica alive. By the end of Damage Inc., it was clear Metallica was moving again, but changed. Master of Puppets became more than an album. It became a monument to discipline, to loss, to defiance. But something inside the band had shifted, so the music that followed would be much colder, more rigid, less forgiving. Riffs stretched longer, arrangements grew harsher, emotion buried beneath structure. They weren't looking back. They were moving forward, into something darker, something stricter, something that would carry a name that felt inevitable.
Thanks. 250 shows. Love you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, man.
See you on the club tonight.